Welcome to my podcast, Shaping Your Journey. My guest in this episode is the great André Ménard, who is a Montreal music entrepreneur who began producing concerts here in Montreal and then later became the co-founder of the Montreal International Jazz Festival, which is now the biggest jazz festival in the world. Great stories, great voyage, and many stories of all the great artists that this festival has produced and showcased and promote some of the great names that we all know. And it's great to have a festival like this. Here is André Ménard. So, André, thanks for being on this podcast. It's really interesting that we got this finally together. Normally we do it on Zoom, but this time we wanted to do it live. Also, we had some technical issues, so you just came down from your house to here, made it happen. It's beautiful. Thanks for coming. Before we start talking about shaping your journey and what your incredible journey, tell us where it all started for you.
Well, in my childhood, something happened. We called it the Beatles. This really instilled the passion for music, for the performance, for anything. It was so impressive that obviously. And then from then on, in high school, after that, we would go see bands obsessively. And then at the college, I start organizing concerts and movie projections and everything. So this really set me on the path from very early on. In the schoolyard, we were not fighting, we were discussing music.
Right. Wow.
So that's been there all around my life for forever.
Yeah. No, it's funny that you say that because I remember the schoolyard on the Monday morning following the Ed Sullivan Show when we saw the Beatles and all of that, which transformed the world in like within the hour. The world had changed. So the next day we're all Beatles and we're all talking music.
Yeah.
None of us played an instrument, but we were all musicians. So, and that whole thing, I think, affected everybody in completely different ways. But we all have the same story.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, the only thing is that I thought it was so fantastic that I was also intimidated by music. So as close as I could get to music, I've never learned to play music. On a certain point of view, it's like the mystery has remained with me. What creates music? What's this little sparkle that makes people? Oops. You have lots of friends.
Yes, but we can keep going.
So where was I? So. I got very close to music without ever playing a single note of music, So the mystery remains with me. I don't know what it's made of. Music theory and all that. I've never been interested really into that because, to me, what it did to me and what it did to the people was what impressed me most. So throughout time, I became very involved in all the aspects of music, but without ever playing. Which in a way, I regret because I should have learned music theory. Maybe I would understand more about music. But it's still this big, mysterious feeling each time that I connect with and this is for all sorts of music.
Yeah.
As much as I'm recognized as, being a jazz-obsessed guy because I did a jazz festival, I go to lots of heavy metal concerts as well.
I have to interject for a second because when you told me that, because you obviously have a long history. You were the co-founder of the Montreal Jazz Festival, which is the greatest festival today, and then you said you were into heavy metal.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you say that. Yeah.
And then the whole, the poetry of Québécois music, in the first place, Félix Leclerc, and then I was really associated for a long time with the guys like Harmonium, Beaudommage, and Michel Rivard, and the whole scene. And this was also a great experience. Everything, I took the positive side of everything that I've been involved with, and it adds up to so many memories now in But still, I'm very hungry for, you know. I'm into concert halls most of just about every night of the week, you know. I go to the movie house in the afternoon, and then I have to go see something at night. This is something that I pursue with joy, with zeal, and it's never quit.
Yeah, you know, and it's really interesting because as a musician, I've always felt that, you know, the whole educational part of it, making music was so important to me. And then, you know, you become a professional musician, and then you're promoting the you know, the cultural aspect of it. What's good for the brain, what's good for the society. I've made presentations at the Canadian Senate about the economic benefits of it. You know, $1 invested in culture is $29 of productivity, and all of that stuff. But something just recently hit me even further than that. Anybody who plays an instrument or is involved in music in a cerebral or technical way lives longer.
Yeah.
And because the neurons reform. I mean, we were talking about Paul McCartney, 83 and still touring the world. Ringo Starr, Mick Jagger. I mean, I can go on and on. All those guys from the '60s are coming back on because they can't stay home.
No.
and it really makes a difference in the human condition. I'm amazed, and I say to everybody, don't stop playing or start playing, even if you're 7 years old. Start.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not about to start, I'm afraid, but I still will attend, you know. With the Rolling Stones, I'm up to my 57th concert now. And I look forward for next summer when they take the road again. They have a new album coming in the spring, and then they'll be on the road in Europe. I will make sure to, coincidentally, in my vacation, have to see the Rolling Stones. Same thing with Bob Dylan, you know, and all these top creators of music. As long as they'll be around, I will want to follow what they're doing. You know?
Nice. So, I mean, you started producing concerts. I mean, I remember I was reading that you did Soft Machine, you did a whole bunch of other international artists that you brought in, as well as people from here in Montreal and Quebec.
Yeah. Well, I started in college, so in this environment, I did, you know, Robert Charlebois. Soft Machine, I co-promoted with a guy called Alain Simard. We became partners a few years after that, but we go back that long ago. And then he invited me to see Pink Floyd at the CEPSOM and University of Montreal, and then Genesis. And so we really connected from the start. But it's very funny how life sometimes unfold, you know, you cannot plan on everything, you know, and it's an adventure. In my case, you know, there were some tough moments, obviously, but most of the time what I remember was the fun of being involved, you know, and almost the guiltiness of having so much fun working, you know. You're not supposed to, I mean, you're supposed to suffer a bit on the job. I probably did, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
I remember the best of it, you know, when Stevie Wonder showed up for the opening of the festival, the 30th festival, and the opening of the Place des Festivals. I just couldn't believe it, you know. I went to greet him when he came out of the tour bus at the hotel next to Place des Arts, you know, and I saw Stevie Wonder in front of me, and I said, gee, this is the music. Yeah. You know, this guy incarnates everything you think about great music. And he was in front of me. He was going to work for us, you know. I never used the term, but that was it. And I was thinking, shit, what a life.
No, that's great. And speaking of Quartier du Spectacle, you had something to do with the formation of this, because that's like Montreal's kind of Broadway, but Quartier du Spectacle, all of these theaters, all of these spaces. Yeah. So you were one of the masterminds behind this, or the idea?
Quartier du Spectacle, I was the first to promote the idea that we should, because the Jazz Festival in its first years, around year 3 or 4, we used Saint Denis Street and Place des Arts. And the addition of both sites made for a great inventory of 28 concert halls and all that. So I was thinking, we do have a fantastic entertainment district in Montreal, but it's not designated, it's not geographically identified, so we should do something about this, you know. So I started promoting the idea that Quartier du Spectacle should be, you know, should have some kind of a common action. It was all separate operators, some of them government-owned, some of them private, and to put everybody at the same table. So this is how it came to fruition. Right now, it's a very different thing because they have the partenariat du Quartier des Spectacles. They do promote their own events as well, sometimes treating the natural events that are taking place there as competition, which is a bit strange, but but at the same time, it's the fruition of a huge project that we had, so it was way beyond the jazz festival. The jazz festival was the blueprint for Quartier des Spectacles, I think.
Right.
But then the whole idea evolved, and obviously, I mean, they have taken over, many tasks, and now it's all year round, and I really enjoy it. It's it has redefined the whole sector, and the east part of the downtown Montreal is now as prestigious as the western part.
Right.
It was not the case in the first place.
Right. And there's so many changes. All those theaters and all those outside venues. I mean, one thing that really amazed me always about the Montreal Jazz Festival, you guys really got it together. The whole team. You'd have 100,000 people for a concert. The next day, you wouldn't see a piece of paper on the streets, which was really amazing. Clean, no problems. That's just amazing.
Yeah, well, you don't want to trash the city, with a festival. I think that in that respect, we were kind of obsessed with not having any kind of negative impact. If the businesses around Place des Arts were happy, we were happy. But then, in general, the whole image of the festival was very important. Not for the sake of image, for the sake of enjoyment for everyone. So, obviously, we took very seriously those responsibilities.
Right.
And it really helped, I think, develop the whole concept of a Quartier des Spectacles as not a situation where you have trash all the time, but it remains very clean, very enjoyable, and then everybody can walk the street from the kids, to the elderly. And this, I think, to me, was the greatest success of the festival. Lots of people would come there, would hear music that was totally foreign to them, and they discovered and they enjoyed it, and so that the magic of music produced that. It's not us, It's all about the music.
Yeah.
And but I was happy to be part of it for sure, and then to contribute some ideas sometimes. This is when I think back, I have a hard time believing how lucky we were in many respects.
But in the beginning, when you and Alain got together to found the festival, I remember when I first moved here in Montreal, there was the Rising Sun, and I used to go there all the time. There were all these little clubs, a lot of great acts that would come there. And then the festival started, and did that was the mindset to just gather everybody together in one place? Is that the original idea?
Yeah, well, it was. The idea was also to enlarge the crowd that would appreciate, It was treated sometimes as specialty music, as opposed to, and jazz to me is a very democratic form of music. It's enjoyable by everyone, but at least they have to be exposed. And this is what we did mainly. But before the jazz festival, Alain and I were promoting lots of blues and jazz concerts and then some world music in the city. When it took the shape of the festival, we had some kind of an ambition, of a vision for that. And but back in 1976, we were already in the process of thinking about something that would get bigger throughout the years, and so we had some kind of ambition, we had some kind of mission, we thought. But then in the first year, we had tried in 1979 to put something together. Did not really, we were not really satisfied with what we had gathered, so we thought, well, we'll wait for another year. And then in 1980, on the old expo site, there was like a modern room, We had the first festival there at Place des Nations at Kiosque International. But we knew that we were not going to stay there forever. The transfer downtown was already in the plans.
Right. Yeah, and it's amazing how it has grown. The last time I looked, there were like 500 concerts, or is it gone beyond that? 500 concerts in that 10 days. That's amazing. That's the inside concerts, the outside concerts. the big stages, and also in every little corner there's something going on. And also another thing that impressed me, because I played the festival a number of times with people like David Amram and Repercussion and other artists would come in and ask me to perform with them. Like everything worked like clockwork, like a Swiss watch.
Yeah.
You had 1 hour set up and sound check, and everything started on time and ended on time. That's amazing.
Well, the artists that were coming from outside really appreciated the fact that they were very well surrounded, and in return we expected a quality performance as well. We'll make everything easy for you. We will surround you with lots of care, but the schedule is the schedule, because you cannot have this huge puzzle working if you don't have all the parts in place. So. But we took it seriously. They took it seriously. When you treat the artist well, normally you get fine results. It's not. There's no big secret in the sauce here.
Right.
But treating people well, many people think, okay, you supply them with booze and fun. And it's not like that. Guys on tour, I learned, are in need of some rest, and then some decent food, and this is the basis. It's not the party.
No. The party thing is it's stereotype, but it doesn't work. Serious people work a lot, and they don't realize.
And those who remain year after year after year is because they're not into the party side of the thing. It's nice to party. We all party at some point, but the touring people have a mentality and have needs that need to be met, and I'm always surprised that they were surprised that we would supply all this. To me, it was natural. It was mutual understanding. We have a job, you have a job, and we'll try and make it as enjoyable as possible.
Sure.
But then we were very serious at it. For sure. Yeah.
And some of the great artists. I mean, I remember I always looked forward to it because seeing Miles Davis, seeing everybody who was anybody was at the Montreal Jazz Festival. So what are some of the funny stories or really interesting stories or amazing stories that come to mind? You can go on forever. Go ahead.
Just the mention of Miles Davis' name sends me shivers. We worked with him 5 times at the festival. It was never the same show. He was... Some people don't know, but he could be funny, because people always think that the Prince of Darkness, and it was not like that. It was not about joking all the time, but each time we worked with him was different. But the very last time he did 3 nights at the Spectrum, and that was amazing because the 3 nights he never played the same music. The first night was pretty much fusion music. Second night was more jazzy, and the third night was very bluesy. And at time, and the funny thing is that he was going to the third night was on a Monday, and on the Tuesday he had in between the time that he decided to do the Montreal gig and the moment that he came, they decided to give him the Lifetime Award at the Grammy Awards. At the other end of the continent in LA. So he was going to have to be in LA the day after the last gig at the Spectrum. So I thought, we'll get the short deal here. He'll play an hour and he'll want to leave because he had an overnight flight to LA. Quite to the contrary, they took all the luggages, everything in the Spectrum, and he played for 3 hours because he had nothing to do before the plane, so he was not going to get bored.
Right.
At that point in his life, I was amazed that we would get that. And strange coincidence, in the house there was Pierre Trudeau.
Wow.
And Pauline Julien. You can't think of 2 better enemies.
Right.
And
Pauline Julien was there too.
So that to me symbolizes the fact that music it gets people together.
Yes. It's a great neutralizer.
To connect with Miles Davis, like when we did the poster print, we had a serigraph of Miles, and he had to sign 150 of them. So I had to go to his room and make him sign So he was lying on his belly on the bed, and he was signing them, And at some point he got tired because there was 150. So he gives the pen to his nephew, who was his assistant, I said, "No, please, I take the pen. You do it." He looked at me and said, It was funny, but me giving orders to Miles Davis.
Right, right.
I mean, he's next to God as far as I'm concerned. He's one of the most important artists ever.
Yeah.
Charlie Chaplin, there's a few of them, but there's very high ranking for every form of art. So to me, he compares with Picasso, and so to be in his presence was very, very special.
Yeah.
To me, So some people will say, "Oh, you're such a groupie." I'm not a groupie, but when you're in front of a genius like that, Charles Aznavour, the same thing, a few artists that I've met were created that impression on me that, okay, I'm not worthy. Félix Leclerc, same thing. The Pope, to me, was like, it's meetings so important. So those people created things and had a lifetime of creativity and beauty that cannot be matched. This is they belong to some pantheons.
And the positive influence they have in the long term too.
Yeah.
That's also important too, which is nice. It's great that we have those kinds of people that are there not just for a short time, for a long time, and see their changes and what they go through and how they deal with the changes that we all go through, right? And then offer guidance to people who get confused, because there's a lot of confusion that happens when the world goes crazy for a minute. And these people, the art, the music, the I wouldn't say spiritual, but that other side of the human condition that is important to speak to. That this is how a civilization is remembered.
Yeah, and in a very poetic way, they belong to eternity. It's not something that they realize during their lifetime, I don't think. But somehow, when you think about all those artists from the past that are not with us anymore, some of them really stand out as eternal. And so I had the chance to be confronted with eternity a few times in my life, and this is a gift that I can't repay to anyone, because it's so immaterial. It's not something that, it's not money in your pocket.
Right.
It's way beyond that.
Yeah. And it certainly makes the world a better place. What are some of the other artists or situations that were really interesting that you want to share? Because you were with the festival. How many years were you at the festival before?
Well,
you left
about
it?
40 years.
40 years. So you had a chance to work with so many great people.
Yeah.
And you've developed this, with your team, and kept to the vision, and just it kept building. But there was you made the Montreal Jazz Festival like the place to be. Mm-hmm. For not just for the artists, but also for people to come from all around. Because what do they have in store this year? Who's coming?
Well, one of the very rare occasions that really turned sour, and I was so sorry, was with Chet Baker. Chet Baker was going to play a duet with Paul Bley. They had an album together on Steeplechase called Diane. Beautiful record, just trumpet and piano. And so I asked both of them they were going to play on such a night at the 11 o'clock concert at the small Saint Denis Theater. And so Paul Bley showed up the night before, so that he would not travel same day as. And it was supposed to be the same thing with we had arranged for Chet to come the night before and didn't show up. So I had to call. I asked Paul Bley, do you know where he lives? Because normally, we don't deal with the intimacy of the artist. He says, yeah, he lives at some pharmacist in Belgium. So, do you know his name? He said, yeah, I had the number. He said, so we called the pharmacist and asked him. It was midnight in Montreal, so we asked him, is Chet Baker in your place right now? He said, yes. I said, well, he should be in Montreal. So please, can you put him on the train to Paris? And I'll send someone there to take him and get him at the airport at Roissy. So we found a girl in Paris that did it. So Chet took the train. So we sorted, like the long arm of the jazz festival to get him in place. So he took the flight. He showed up. Was not really in condition. We could see that he was not doing very good. And in the end, he tried to play, but so we had a crisis in the house. People were very upset. Sure. So it was very sad. But at the same time, embarrassing. And so this was like, oh my God, this was the major disappointment for me. And, but then I show up at the Hotel du Parc at around midnight. There was the jam sessions were in Hotel du Parc at the time,
Right.
and I see him walking around all fresh with his trumpet. And I said, what the hell is that, So I go see him, because obviously he was going to take part in the jam session. And he had not performed our concert. We still had to pay him. And I was so disappointed. It was the first time that something like that happened to us. And something that I would never do. It's not in my nature, but I went to see him. I said, you play sing a load of this and I'll break it on your head. Talking about his trumpet, I just couldn't believe I said that, but it was done. And he didn't play.
Yeah.
But the day after, he disappeared. He did not use our plane ticket. And so he was like adrift in life, and he died a year and a half after that, very sad, in Amsterdam. But then I became obsessed with Chet Baker. I must own about 100 records by Chet Baker now.
Okay.
But the worst thing is that I saw him a few months later. I was with my partner in programming, David Jobin, in New York City. We went to the Ritz to see Motorhead. And then after that, Chet was playing in a restaurant with Harold Danko and Ben Riley, a nice band. So we went to see him. So I meet him after the show, and I ask him, hi, do you remember me? He says, no. I said, Montreal. I said, oh yeah, Paul Bley. And then he said,
That's amazing.
is that guy ever fucked up, man? He was putting the responsibility of the fiasco we had on Paul Bley. I said, well, it's not like that, but still, in a corner in that dressing room that was the kitchen of the restaurant, I see, my God, what's his name? Famous conductor. Gee, I have these problems now. Anyways, he introduced me, and I got him at the festival the year after. So he kind of repatched.
Okay.
But that was, he was like, so nice, cool, and aloof. Totally the opposite of the poor, destroyed guy that. But then he died a few months after that. Right. But still, I had seen a more than decent set by Chet Baker, nice. But not in our festival.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Yeah, no, I can understand, because you really want, you created this position, this vessel that can showcase all the top players, and yeah, I can understand that disappointment, but you can't control everything. I mean, people.
Well, I mean, we got very lucky in general. It was just one bad night, but still, I remember it because this whole thing, and then what happened with me after that, turning totally obsessed, because the artistry of Chet Baker, as approximate as it could be because of his condition of being a junkie, is so fabulous. I mean, it's so extraordinary. The tone, everything is so. But then we just didn't meet. we just did not, get what we deserved, I guess. But
right.
Yeah,
right.
Life is life.
What were some of the other top? I shouldn't say the word top, but we had. I mean, apart from Miles Davis, I mean, there was. Did Maynard Ferguson ever play the festival?
Yeah, once.
Once.
Yeah,
Okay.
In '82. Okay. That was cool. It was, yeah. Well, obviously being hailed out of Montreal, so we connected pretty rapidly, and he said, "Oh, I was not like that in my time." So, well, glad you're here now. But no, he was quite gracious and
yeah,
great band leader. He really had lots of young guys playing for him, but real top sound, and a very enthusiastic guy. But yeah, it was quite pleasant.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of great guys that came out of Montreal. I'm just thinking now, as you were saying that, there's Oscar Peterson, of course,
yeah,
and Oliver Jones.
Yeah.
And one thing I always enjoyed was how you promoted, I won't say the word local, people from who were from Montreal or are still in Montreal, but at the level, and you showcase them, and they were given the opportunity to play in such large audiences. That was great.
It was so amazing to have Oscar the first time we did in '83. You know, realizing that the monumental musician that he was, and obviously we knew that in advance. But to meet him and so gracious, but then so intense when he
Yes.
get to play. And this is a story I told a few times. Last time was at the Oscar Peterson Day in the park, where that bears his name in Petite Bourgogne. But the one of the time we worked for we were with him. Well, we worked for him as well. I asked him about the money because he had canceled his management. He was with Norman Granz forever, and then they had different. So he was going to manage himself. You know? So something that made me very uneasy. I had to call a star musician and deal the money with him, and so he asked me for close to the double of what he got the last time. Probably to prove himself that he did the right thing, leaving the manager, you know, because he would get more. So I'm not big at negotiation. You know, I know what people are worth at the box office, and this is what I try to give them. You know, so it's not like trying to be cheap with anyone. But anyways, so he asked for a ton of money, and I said, well, it's too bad because at some point I think you're becoming a luxury we can't afford. Then he says, well, you know, Andre, you know the history books about music, those that they will publish in 200 years from now, Oscar Peterson will still be there. You know, they'll still be talking about Oscar Peterson, and now you're talking to him. So I said,
Wow.
Well, I'm afraid we'll have to raise the ticket prices. He said, go ahead and do that. Raise the ticket prices. So I gave him the money.
Wow. Wow.
So this was not normal fare. It's not like a normal negotiation, but you negotiate with agents, you know, and you do whatever you have to say. But it's more delicate when you deal with the artist himself, you know. And then he was so imperial in his opinion about himself, you know. And fact is, he was right.
Yeah.
So what am I about to say? Who am I in the first place?
Yeah.
But you never said that. Who do you think you are? No. By reversing the situation like this, he was a master, I thought, of negotiation. You know?
Yeah. No, he did such amazing things. I mean, and it's nice. He also didn't leave Canada. I mean, he moved to Toronto and brought his musicians to work with him there, and he worked from there. And he could be anywhere, right?
Yeah. Till the very end, Oscar Peterson, you know, in Japan would do 5,000 seat halls and sell it out. You know, he was very, very popular. He was above what is normally, you know, a great career in jazz.
Yeah.
He was like, you know, the mountaintop, and he remained there for his whole career, which is amazing. And his playing, as much as it could have been a bit affected when he had his stroke. You know, what his left hand could not do anymore, the right hand did, or the reverse, I can't remember. But it was like, you know, he pretended that nothing happened, and he still, you know, gave a great show to the people that would come. And each time we had him, it was big sellout.
Right.
The second time we had him was at the Forum with Charles Dutoit and the Montreal Symphony for the 5th Jazz Festival.
Yes, I remember that now.
And that was cool.
Yes.
Dutoit was very impressed because he was not in that space at all, you know. But then when he saw Oscar, you know, just doing his little thing in the afternoon to get his hands in place, you could see that Dutoit was, ouch, what's that, you know? And there was just rehearsing, you know, heating up.
Right. And then you had people like Diana Krall, another great Canadian.
Yeah, Diana Krall.
Yeah. You worked a lot with her, Diana.
Yeah. Well, I had the chance to be there at the moment where, strangely enough, I was introduced to her by her new manager in New York, lady that I really appreciate. And she told me, well, I have this great new artist, and then she tells me that Diana Krall already had 3 records, but you probably don't know about it. I said, no, she had 3 records on Just in Time that I had never received. You know, I had never been serviced with these records. Not that I need to be served all the time, but normally we get the... So, and she asked me, you want to come to New York and meet her? Because we'll be going to the farewell concert of oh my God, what's her name? Lena Horne, sorry.
Lena Horne, yes.
At Carnegie Hall. She was doing 2 nights of farewell because she had a new record on Blue Note, and Bruce Longville booked her for 2 nights at the. So we went there, and I met her, at dinner, and then we went to the show, and she was very, very shy. She was not like.
Yes.
So I could see that you would not connect easily with her. It was not like, I mean, she was not totally withdrawn, but she was kind of reserved. And during the show, at some point, Lena Horne sang. Well, she had both the Basie band and Terence Blanchard quintet, depending on the song that she would do. At some point, they all quit, and she keeps the pianist, and she did "Yesterday When I Was Young," the Charles Aznavour song. And it was very emotional because she was 77. She was, showing that this was the last time we would see her, and "Yesterday When I Was Young," and I think there was not a dry eye in the place, And then I turned to Dinah, and I saw that she was crying like a baby, really. And I said, "Oh my God, she's so sensitive," Quite the opposite of what I had seen during the. So I was so impressed with this personality that was at the same time so reserved, and so I said, okay, we really need to try and do something for her, because I love the character,
Yeah. No, she's a beautiful person. I had, I was in Australia once doing a thing in Canberra, and she was performing, and I think there's another troupe in town. So the Canadian commissioner, which was like the ambassador, said, we want to do a special evening since we have 3 Canadians in Australia at the same time and in Canberra at the same time. So they did a big thing that night. So it was, and I'm with Diana, and Diana's like standing behind me, like she didn't want to be like go into the crowd and talk to people. She was very shy. She says, "No, you go." But yeah, she's very, very.
So we decided that. I decided that we would do something a bit special for her out of the format of Jazz Festival. So I took the Just for Laughs cabaret in the Just for Laughs building, and we did a all-time club show. Even the soundboards were in the balcony, in some closet. I didn't want to show anything. I wanted it to look like the 40s, And it was a double bill of Benny Green as a trio, and her with her own trio. That was with Christian McBride and guitarist, can't remember.
Pat Metheny, maybe?
Russell Malone. And we did 10 nights with her there. So it was a 10-night engagement. We had never done that in the festival. I created that situation for her because I trusted that it would be cool. Finally, and her set was a tribute to Nat King Cole. So was Benny Green's set also, but Nat King Cole instrumental with Benny Green and Nat King Cole singer with Donna Crowell. And it did wonders for her, because being there 10 nights meant that all the press corps that was at the festival had the chance to go see her at some point,
Right,
It's not like, oh, you missed that showcase, too bad, you didn't see her. So she got quite a bit of recognition from that big engagement that we had with her. She was signed on Verve Records, and the first record was the tribute to Nat King Cole. And the rest is history. She became this huge star on the Canadian music scene and on the world scene, And to this day, she still credits the Jazz Festival. Even when she's in Toronto, speaking to the Toronto media, she credits the Montreal Jazz Festival as the main reason for her to have acquired that kind of career. Of course, her talent did the rest. We're just like the sparkle, that created a situation for her. But humbly, I was very flattered that. But each time we needed her, that sometimes. I needed a concert for each and every night at Wilfrid Pelletier Hall, and it's not all the artists that can sell 3,000 tickets. One time I called her and I said, "Gee, I have a hole. We're going out with the program." She said, "Well, I'm in France at that moment. What is your date?" So the night before me, she was in Nice, and then she had 2 days off. So she took the plane to come and play for us, and she returned to Europe, in the middle of a European tour, just to show you how grateful she was for us. And then each time, like one time I suggested, maybe we should do something outside of your normal format, She had an orchestra at one point, but most of the times it's Dana Kroll Trio. And I was suggesting, why don't you try? And it's like, the Frank Sinatra tour of Japan, with an octet or something, with a different instrumentation. And she said, what about solo? I said, oh, I didn't dare ask, but would you do a solo? She said, yeah, sure. I said, okay, we'll take a smaller hall. So we went to Maisonneuve for 3 nights. But I never expected her to do what she did. She showed up with a concept where she had a 78 RPM record player with records that her father used to play for her, because he was a huge collector of jazz 78s way back. And so she would play a part of the record, and then she would go to piano and do the song. So it was not about the greatest hits of Dana Kroll, a la piano bar. It was a conceptual show, and there was projections of her as a kid because her father would do films with her. So it was very, very conceptual. Pretty risky for somebody who has a hits, because when you show up with something very different, sometimes a part of the crowd will feel like treason, Oh, she never cared to do her big songs, Who does she think she is, It never happened over the 3 nights. But I was so nervous for her that I never show up the first time. The first night, I thought that she's putting her career at risk for us. Why would she do that, I was really like worried. And of course I was wrong. So the third night I went, and after the show, the whole entourage was there, and she said, André, thanks for everything you did for me. You are so important,
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, André, it's true though. There are key people in your life that are solid, and they're really there when it counted most.
Yeah.
It's like, the Beatles with Brian Epstein and George Martin. Those are key people that had to be there to launch the thing properly, and it was...
Yeah, but in Dana's case, I never thought, that she would go that high, that fast, I knew that she would be important from the moment that I saw what she was doing, and she was pretty skilled, but very shy too, and shyness does not sell much in general,
True.
But in her case, it was not detrimental at all. She was soft-spoken, and she was not about showboating,
Yeah.
So, which is cool. Normally, to try and work your way out of the jazz realm and become bigger, you need to have something special. Some do the song and dance and the whole thing, In her case, was not like that at all, and then she prevailed. So, more kudos to Dana Kroll.
Yeah.
Great artist.
Genuine. Well, the genuine factor, and she's real and she's focused. When you listen to her, she totally brings you into her world, which is nice, right? Yeah. You had people like, I'm thinking Chick Corea.
Yeah.
Was another great musician who has done classical. He's known as a jazz musician, but he's done a lot of great things too.
Yeah. Well, at some point we did the invitation series with him, for 5 nights, and. Fantastic. It was the embarrassment of the choices we had were great, and the suggestions he did were great. So we did agree very quick on the lineups. Same with Jack DeJohnette.
Oh yes.
Jack DeJohnette did 5 nights, and he told me I could have done 20, because of course drummers do work with lots of people. You know that they don't have a fixed job, so they have to adapt, and. But Jack was so beautiful. And he had friends,
Yeah.
You could tell that he had left good traces everywhere he went, because everybody wanted to do the gig. All those that we asked, would you do a special night with Jack, remembering what you did with him, at some point. And there was nobody refused. Nobody said, no, I don't think I'll work with him anymore. It was not like that.
No, he was a master. He totally was a master. He created his own style. He was a true musician. He was a piano player, and that transformed into the drums, because he played drums like a musical instrument, as it should be, but he really took it up a whole other notch. like Elvin Jones did, and people like that, Steve Gadd. I mean, they all have their own world that they created, but they play music. And Jack was totally amazing. Some of the other stories, not so much stories, but the personalities that come through, and that you had the opportunity to work with, that you had to, I shouldn't say, think about how would they work in this context, because they were not all like known as jazz players, for example. So,
well, this outside jazz, there was lots of musicians that impressed me, but I have to say that one of the person that impressed me most for her real sense of humanity was Ella Fitzgerald. She came twice to the festival, and I'll remember for all my life. But the second time, it only happened that I had to bury my father in the morning,
Ouch.
And there was the show, and that was in '87. There was the 50th anniversary of the release of "Summertime" by Gershwin. So we had it as a musical theme for the festival. We never did that before. We never did after, but we had a different version of "Summertime" being played on the PA every night before the show, and we asked the acts if they wanted to do "Summertime" as well. So I asked her before the show. I went to see her. I said, did you get the letter? And she said, what letter? And well, the one in the bag that we gave you when you arrived. Oh, she said, yeah, about "Summertime." I said, yeah. You think you'll do it? And she said, you're not about to tell Ella Fitzgerald what she's supposed to sing. She said, no, not like that. No, never. But if ever you feel like it would be cool.
Right.
And at the end of the show, she returned for the encore with the piano alone. And she said, this one is for the organizer. He's a nice guy, and I'm told he's having a rough time.
Wow, that's very nice. That's very nice.
But she was so graceful both times, And at that second time, we knew that her health was not tops, in the following year, they cut off her 2 legs because of the big diabetes problem that she had. But walking out of our show on this at the exit of Wilfrid Pelletier Hall, there's a little balcony there, and she saw there was about 200 people, that were standing there waiting to see her take the limo, and so, hi, well, want me to sing a song? And then she sang a cappella to the people on the street before leaving.
Nice. Wow.
Goddess. Frankly, you don't meet people like that very often, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Amazing. And what about Aretha Franklin? I remember seeing her at the festival. Aretha Franklin. That was amazing.
That was a piece of work, I'll tell you.
Okay.
Our son in the afternoon told me a funny story. He said, she makes decisions sometimes. We're glad to be here, but mainly is that because she didn't want to fly. So my friend in Montreal was trying to get her for years and years, Claude Nobbs, and said, how did you get her? She said, because her tour bus can come to Montreal. She can't, tour bus won't get to Montreal for sure.
Right.
But he told me that Aretha had canceled 3 shows in Florida following the news that she saw on TV at some point. There was a bushfire somewhere in Florida. But Florida is more about the Everglades than the bush, Right. But still, she decided to cancel. Well, Florida's on fire because the fire was probably showing all over the TV screen.
Of course.
But it doesn't mean the whole country is on fire. But so he said, she can be very touchy, So we're glad to be here, and you should be glad that we're here. So of course, we're glad that she's here. But just. Yeah, she was quite a personality.
Nice. Yeah. There's so many stories, and it's nice to be able to meet these people on another level, and sometimes you create the thing. You set the stage for the next, right? You were working on the festival for 40 years. What made you decide to stop with the festival?
Well, I was in 2020, Well, anyways, Spectra, the company that I had with Alain Simard, had sold its interest to Evenco, the CH, Montreal Canadiens, on my 60th. It's very bizarre. The closing happened on the day that I turned 60. But we had remained in the company for 4 2-year mandates, So, at some point, you know that it's time for you to let. I have to say that the people that came to replace us, were very good at what they were doing. So I was not worried.
Right.
Morin and the whole bunch. So, I mean, life goes on, But I don't. I'm not deprived from anything musically, and I still go to see concerts almost every night, and I go to the movies all the time, and so
Nice. Yeah. So
over
you're
the
still
year,
active.
I must see at least 500 on events a year. So
Wow, that's fantastic. So if anybody watching and listening, you have to stay active. That's amazing, and it really makes a difference because your brain continues to grow, our curiosity remains, and you're still part of the what's going on. You're not parked somewhere, and
Yeah.
why be parked unless you have to be?
But since I'm not a musician, like I said, I had this. I'm probably a victim sometime of some fashions or whatever, but I don't have this prejudice about anything, and sometimes I think it all goes in circle. At some point, like many years ago, there were solo piano artists like George Winston that I really appreciated, but somebody had put on the label New Age over this, So it was not cool, It was like a 2-finger piano, la 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 la. And now you have Alexandra Streletsky doing wonderful music, just in the same way, but it has become new classical,
Right.
neoclassical music.
Neoclassical.
Cool. I'm happy for her that she doesn't get tagged stupidly by limitations that some people put on music. There's lots of great music, even in the noisy side of music, and on the very melodic. So I'm always in for a good adventure. Discovering things and changing your mind or canceling your prejudice you had over something. This is, I think, what keeps you alive.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get petrified in your old prejudice, and why care?
Yeah. That's a good word, petrified. And when you get petrified, you no longer feel anything, right?
Yeah.
So no, that's good advice, actually, and we should all be doing that. I mean, the older I get, the more I want to play, the more I learn more, and I think I still have so much to do. So you just have to take care of your health. That's all. Yeah. So I want to thank you for taking the time.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's
always nice to remember, but I'm looking forward to the next event that I'll go see.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. But
I'm going to see Luc Beauséjour tonight playing over 5 different clavichords in the part of the Bach Festival.
Okay.
So
yes.
This is my program.
Nice. And we should all still be active, and it's good for us. I mean, we live longer too. But I really want to thank you for taking the time and doing this. And as I always say, to be continued.
Yeah.